So last time we left off on the end of chapter 14, where Jason Yao was very surprised at what he had seen and heard, which was Mia being a very good piano player. He thought that poor people in China didn't have any education or didn't have any hobbies or talents. And we know that Jason is very wrong. He is showing that he's ignorant. That means he doesn't know too much about life. And we are also focusing on the theme of inequality, how some people have more than others, and how that's fair or unfair. So we're going to continue reading today, chapter 15, keeping that theme in our mind. Honey, we've been thinking, my dad said when I got home from school that day. I was still mad about my conversation with Jason. Maybe it's not such a good idea you watch the front desk. Clearly, it's dangerous, my mom said. After what happened? No, I said firmly. That was not the solution. And besides, who's going to watch it if I don't? I will, my mother said. I shook my head. Dad can't clean all the rooms by himself. He was barely managing as it was, even with my mom, and they still wouldn't let me anywhere near the maid cart because of the chemicals. Every day, the two of them cleaned until well past sunset. They had both lost so much weight, they constantly had sweat stains on their shirts and smelled of Clorox. I can manage by myself, my dad insisted. No, you can't. I turned to my mom. Sorry, Mom, I'm not giving you my job. The front desk was my chocolate notebook, and I was not letting it go. No way. So remember in her old school, the teacher gave students who did very well a chocolate notebook that they could use, and she wanted that chocolate notebook so bad. So the front desk is very important to her. She wants this job so bad, and she's determined to not let anyone take it from her. I plopped down on the front desk stool and gazed at the wallpaper, at the spot where the security camera was supposed to go. Why can't we just tell him he has to get his cameras, or else? I asked my parents. Because he knows there's no or else, my dad said softly. I bit my lip. It's just so unfair, I said. My mother sighed. She walked over and put a hand on my shoulders. We're immigrants, she said. Our lives are never fair. That's interesting. I wonder if that's true. We'll have to read on. My dad nodded. We have to try, he said. We have to try and accept our fate. My parents were always going on about fate. Sometimes I wondered if this fate thing was just something adults made up to make themselves feel better, like the tooth fairy. And really, it's not so bad, my dad said, his face brightening. We have a roof over our heads. We have each other. That's right, my mom said. Could be a lot worse. Look at Ming, my dad added. He didn't mention the loan sharks, but he didn't need to. We were all thinking it. All right, so they're trying to look at the bright side of the things. They're trying to be thankful that they have a roof, that they have each other. Let's keep reading. My parents let me keep my job, but only after I told them I would make a sign saying security camera installed and put it up in the front office. Even though we didn't have a security camera, people could think we had a camera. This girl's clever. Billy Bob, one of the weeklies, came into the front office. He pointed at the sign and asked, Where's the new security camera? I looked down at my hands. There isn't one, I admitted. I told him about Mr. Yao and how he rejected all my ideas because they were too expensive. Billy Bob sighed. I'm sorry to hear that, he said. But you know what? Come here. Let me show you something. I followed him out to the parking lot. The two of us stood in front of Billy Bob's old blue station wagon. See that sticker on my car? Billy Bob asked, pointing to a shiny sticker on the driver's side window. I squinted at the words. It said, Don't touch. Alarm system installed. Billy Bob leaned over, cupped his hand, and whispered into my ear. There's no alarm system. Interesting. I smiled. So it seems like They're both clever, where they have signs that say alarm or cameras to keep people from stealing or from doing any criminal activity. Later that day, a small hatchback pulled up beside Billy Bob's station wagon. A Chinese guy came bouncing out of it, running up to my dad and shaking his hand furiously. He told him he was a friend of Uncle Ming's and asked if he could stay here for the night. Any friend of Ming's is a friend of mine, my dad smiled. That night, as my mom prepared dinner, Uncle Lee stood next to her, beaming at the sweet and sour pork, rubbing his hands while the wok sizzled. Notice how she's already calling him Uncle Lee? The Tang family is extremely loving. They just met this guy, they don't know him, and she's calling him Uncle Lee. I haven't even tasted it, and I know it's delicious, he praised my mother, who blushed with pride. Thanks, my mom said. You don't know what it's been like for me these last few months, Uncle Lee said. He told us that he met Ming working in the kitchen of a burger place. All day we'd make these juicy burgers for the customers. You know, the kind with real thick beef? My stomach nodded. Oh, she's hungry. That's why I took the job, for the burgers. But for lunch, you know what the boss would give us? A sandwich of 2 slices of white bread and some mayonnaise. The whole thing was white. No meat? My dad asked. No meat. No lettuce? My mom asked, popping a spring roll into her mouth as she sat down. How about some tomato? I asked. Nope, just white on white on white, day after day. White on white on white? That's not a sandwich. That's an envelope. You see how this is in italics, like that slanted writing? That's because it's what she's thinking in her mind. My father shook his head at his new friend's misfortune. So you know what I did? The man asked, leaning in as if to let us in on a secret. What? Every day I made a delicious burger and wrapped it up carefully. I put it in a bag and then I threw it into the trash, he said. Then, every day, after work, I'd go find it. You what? My mother dropped her chopstick. Everyone stopped eating. It wasn't always easy, let me tell you. Some days, my body was completely inside the dumpster, and all you'd see were these 2 little legs kicking in the air. But I always managed to find my burger in the end. Think about this. The owner of this restaurant where Uncle Lee worked wouldn't even let them have a burger. He would just give them 2 pieces of bread with mayonnaise, nothing in it. And Uncle Lee would have to make a hamburger and hide it by throwing it out in the trash. Not a little trash, those big dumpsters. And at the end of the night, because he was so hungry, he would have to go diving into the dumpster. His whole body into the dumpster. Oy. My eyes slid over to the trash can in the kitchen, overflowing with potato peels and eggshells. I pictured 2 little legs sticking out. Did anyone ever see you? I asked. He shrugged, like, so what if they did? I marveled at the guy, at his bravery. He didn't even care if anyone saw him. That was the amazing part. I think I definitely would have cared. When I found my burger, it was the most incredible feeling ever. I devoured it right then and there. I couldn't wait, he said, beaming. So you can tell this guy feels great about eating these burgers. He's not prideful that he was dumpster diving. He's not ashamed. I pictured him sitting on top of a mountain of trash, flies buzzing around him, feet tapping on corn cobs and banana peels as he tucked into his burger. What's the name of this restaurant again? My dad asked. It's called Ray's Burgers down in Carlsbad, Uncle Lee said. The boss's name was Ray? My dad asked. No, the boss's name was Yi Feng, but Ray's Burger sounds a lot better than Yi Feng's Burgers. My dad chuckled. He pointed to the pen on the table. Grab that pen, will you, Mia? Write down Ray's Burgers. Yeah. Tell your friends that is one place you never want to work, Uncle Lee said, reaching for another spring roll. We're going to stop right there because I want to talk a little bit about what we just read. So, When Mia's thinking about Uncle Lee diving into these dumpsters to get the burger, the first question she asks is, "Did anyone ever see you?" Now, we know that Mia lies to her classmates. She lies about where she lives. She lies about having dogs and pets. And her asking these questions really proves that she cares a lot about what others think of her. Okay? We can call this insecure. I think this is the first negative trait that we've seen of Mia. And it's not negative in the sense that it makes her a bad person. It's negative in the sense that it makes someone really sad when they're insecure. It just means that sometimes they feel embarrassed about who they are, or they feel ashamed about who they are. And so we can say they are insecure, because embarrassed and ashamed are feelings. And those feelings show the trait of being insecure. And now let's go back to talk about the theme of inequality and how some people have more than others. I mean, just think about Uncle Lee's story. It seems very unequal. So I want you guys to think about this in your mind. Answer this in your mind. How does Uncle Lee's story show that life can be unequal sometimes? So think about this and then go back to Google Classroom and answer your assignment. Remember, answer in a complete sentence, answer another classmate. Don't just say I agree, say why. I love how some of you have been helping each other out, giving each other more examples. It's great. So keep on doing it, keep working hard, and just try your best. All right, we will read some more tomorrow.